Hello, my name is Janeria, and I teach third grade at Pine Street Elementary. We are a one-to-one school, so each student has their own um, device. I use the um, It's Learning page in my classroom very often. It is a platform provided to us by the district where we could push out assignments, um, any kind of task that's digital resources. We can communicate with students, communicate with parents through this platform, and I usually do maybe 80% of my instruction using the It's Learning platform. I have a course that that's created for each content area that I teach, and I teach each content area. So a typical day is in my classroom is that I will start the lesson. We have our plans embedded into It's Learning. They are available to parents and for students to look at. But I will start by reviewing the standards, essential questions, reviewing the vocabulary, and then I would start with a video about renewable and non-renewable resources. So with this video, because it's a teacher login, I don't allow students to have access to that. So that video where I have listed here is a resource that is only accessible to me, and students will watch it on my Active So the next thing for day one is that the teacher will use a PowerPoint to introduce renewable and non-renewable resources. So students will have access to that. I do allow them to follow along with me on PowerPoints because they have access. So in that section that I had labeled for our resources for the week, I put a link there for students to click on, and it is the PowerPoint that I would use to instruct. This PowerPoint, students can download it, or they can just use it straight from the It's Learning platform. So here the PowerPoint is up. Students can follow through with me as we go through the slides. Just make discussions. I use a lot of pictures and visuals for students to help those who need those aids. So usually at the end of the PowerPoint, I pose a question, and here's our question: what are the differences between non-renewable and renewable resources? And I will have students to answer that question in our parking lot. So they would go back to our course dashboard. In our course dashboard, I have a link to our Leno board, and here I restate the question and allow students to post, and I can check for their understanding. A lot of times we go over it and I give them feedback, correct any misconceptions that they may have here, and kind of review the lesson. So in that, students are able to work independently afterwards. And I have here that they would watch a Brain Pop Junior movie and share two things they learned from the video. So also, if they go back to the resources, I have a link here for the Brain Pop Junior video. It goes directly to the movie I want them to watch, and it's the Reduce, Reuse, Recycle movie. So after they watch the movie, on their laptops, they will go to our bulletin, which they are familiar with. I restated the instructions here, and down here in the comments is where they would write their three things that stuck with them. All right. So again, ending the lesson would be the parking lot. So on day two, I went back through the learning targets, essential questions, vocabulary, and I'm able to pose the question, what is the difference between renewable and non-renewable resources? I'll allow students to answer and share their thoughts and check for understanding using a quizzes. So for students, in that same resource box, I have a link here for quizzes. It go right to the join screen, and there I have the code that they can use and take the quiz. So this is the access that students will have. And they could start the quiz. A lot of times I do have it live, but when they're working independently, I like them to work at their own pace and finish at their own pace. So that would be my mini lesson. That was what I only gave them like 5 questions to answer. So after the quiz is, I will read aloud the article, getting to know renewable and non-renewable resources. In my school, we do integrate subjects, so we usually have some kind of reading activity during our social studies or science to where we can practice those skills of explicit text at this point or other reading strategies. So I have the article here that we would use, and it will come up just like this for students. And as I read aloud, they could read along with me as I read. So that is there for them. After the read aloud, I plan for students to work in groups collaboratively and create a PowerPoint that presents 3 ways to reduce, reuse, and recycle natural resources with explanations, details, and illustrations for each suggestion. So students are able to work in groups and produce a PowerPoint. Also, with that article, students would share their thoughts in a discussion board. So I had a discussion board created here, and I have the link, and the links are the topic of it is, what are some solutions to reducing pollution on Earth? So it will go straight to a discussion, and how students will start is they will start a new thread, and an example of that is I posted people can reduce pollution by not littering. This is how a student's post would look. And I always throw my trash in a trash can, never on the ground. And so this is an example of what a student would write. And here is where I would text a reply, and I could say anything like, great job responding to the questions. And I will reply, and the student can see my reply to my response to their question. I could respond back saying, restate it, I don't understand, asking them questions in a discussion board. And again, I would end that lesson with students presenting their PowerPoint slides as a group, answering questions, receiving feedback from the teacher and from peers. So I think that It's Learning is a great resource. I use it. Like I said, 80% of my instruction is driven through It's Learning. I love it. And the kids love it when they take it home. When they take their laptops home, it's very easy to communicate with them. I have an inbox here where I'm able to talk with my students. I can put in different content blocks, images, videos, and it makes it interactive. So I think It's Learning is a great tool, and this is an example of how I would use It's Learning in my classroom on a daily basis. Thank you.